The 9 elements of digital citizenship. Digital citizenship is essentially a concept of the norms of appropriate responsible technology use. It is a concept of the accepted norms and appropriate behavior we should demonstrate when using technology responsibly. To better understand this concept, it is imperative that you know about the 9 elements of digital citizenship, along with all the components that are part of each element. By doing this, you will be a well-informed and professional digital citizen. Another important aspect linked to the 9 elements is the 5 fluencies of digital citizenship, which will also be covered and linked to their corresponding elements. First off, we need to know what the 9 elements of digital citizenship are. The 9 elements are digital access, digital commerce, digital communication, digital literacy, digital etiquette, digital law, digital rights and responsibilities, digital health and wellness, and digital security. What is important to note about the elements is that although these do not need to be done in any specific order, there is a general grouping of the above elements that is needed. The first grouping refers to the learning or working of the user, which involves digital access, digital communication, and digital literacy. The second grouping is that of the behavior and environment, which involves digital etiquette, digital safety and security, and digital rights and responsibilities. And finally, the third grouping we look at is external issues and concerns, which involve digital law, digital commerce, and digital health and wellness. Each element will be discussed individually and in depth throughout the video. The 5 fluencies. The 5 fluencies are also important to know as they are an integral part of digital citizenship. The fluencies are skills that help to adapt and be flexible in the digital space. The 5 fluencies are the solution fluency, the creativity fluency, the collaboration fluency, the media fluency, and the information fluency. Digital access. Digital access is defined as the full electronic participation in society. What this pertains to is how much of society has access to technologies such as smartphones and the internet and other electronic information and communication technologies, or namely ICTs. These technologies are changing the ways in which we live, learn, work, and communicate. It is important to note that the decisions of opening, directing, or closing of opportunities is key to bringing social and economic benefits to people around the world. Digital access is key and critical to bringing these social and economic benefits and should be at the forefront of all business and government decision making in the context of creating opportunities. Issues surrounding access. In 1965, Moore predicted that computer hardware power would double every 18 months. This is known as Moore's Law. Due to this exponential growth in technology, access to data and information is critical. However, access is not universal. Moreover, it is not just about access as a means, but also about access as a skill. In fact, the issue of access, or lack thereof, known as the digital divide, is actually based on several gaps. So the digital divide, the first gap is the socio-economic divide. The first issue surrounding access is that the ability to access, in general, data and information through the use of digital devices. This lack of access is known as the digital divide. The divide is often associated with socio-economic factors, but like the gap between developed countries and developing countries, the digital divide is also associated with geo-demographic factors, developing versus developed countries. This is relevant in the case of internet use, where nations vary widely in the number of ratio of the public with access to the internet. Divide in infrastructure. Continuing along the theme of developed versus developing countries lies the issue of infrastructure. Developed countries have a far greater penetration of appropriate and up-to-date infrastructure than that of developing countries. Quite simply, it is the infrastructure of developing countries that often impedes the broad range of access, in addition to the socio-economic factors. Dividing content. According to data, nearly 70% of websites are in English. Although this has changed substantially, the fact of the matter remains that English dominates the web, and this has created dividing content. Gender divide. According to a 2018 report, the internet gender gap is notable in developing countries, with very real consequences to the girls and women of those communities. The statistics show that on average, women are online in developing countries 23% less than that of their male counterparts in some cases, the gap is over 40%. People derive huge benefits through the use of access to the internet. These include economic and educational opportunities, access to support, communications, as well as accessing career opportunities. Skills divide. Having the skills to operate a computer is probably the biggest opportunity or hindrance to the adoption or not of technology for development. Although accessibility is increasing, skills are not necessarily conforming at the same rate of increase. These skills relate to digital literacies. This is perhaps a greater issue than that of physical access, as those that are disadvantaged due to socioeconomic factors have less exposure to digital technology, thereby impeding their skill acquisition in the job market. Universal access divide. Another issue pertaining to digital access is that of those who are physically disadvantaged. Those that suffer from some physical disability are often disenfranchised when it comes to access, not because of the lack of skills, but moreover the hardware and software utilized and available. Digital literacy. Digital literacy is the ability to use ICTs to find, evaluate, create, and communicate information, requiring both cognitive and technical skills. What skills would a digitally literate person have? According to FISA, a member of the ALA Digital Literacy Task Force, a person would possess a variety of skills that are both technical in nature as well as intellectual, be able to use a wide variety of technology in an appropriate and effective manner, understand the relationship between the technology used, lifelong learning, privacy, and the responsible use of information, make use of their skills along with the appropriate technology to communicate and collaborate with others, use their skills to engage and contribute to civic society. Different website purposes and tools. Websites have different purposes and functions. The purpose is important to note for credibility reasons. Some of the purposes of sites are to provide information such as government and academic. And then others are to provide archives for various types of information. Organizational, such as focusing on people with the same interests. Commercial, such as focusing on selling products or services. And personal, such as the site that provides information about an individual or group. Website verification. With all these websites and web pages containing so much information, how do you know which sites are real and which are fake? There is a checklist that you can use to check the validity of a site. First thing is authority. Here you need to evaluate who created the information and for what purpose. Objectivity, the information needs to be checked for bias. Authenticity, the key here is to know the source of the information found on the website and find out where the information comes from and who the original person is. Reliability, how trustworthy are the sources from the site. Timeliness, information gets outdated very quickly in today's information age. You need to verify how old the information is and take into context how often it gets updated. Relevance, here you need to know the significance of the information provided. Efficiency, think about the effort you put in to get the information. Think about the time it took for you to access this information. Was it easy to follow, quick to access, and easy to use? Digital footprint. Everything we do and say online creates a footprint of sorts. This is known as a digital footprint. Our digital footprint creates the basis of our online reputation that others may access to assess whether or not we are trustworthy, reliable, etc. We need to be very careful with our online reputation, as it is just as important as our offline one. Information and solution fluency. Information fluency is the ability to unconsciously and intuitively interpret information in all forms and formats in order to extract essential knowledge, perceive its meaning and significance, and use it to complete real-world tasks. Information fluency as a process will help to determine credibility, authenticity, and veracity of the information presented. There's a process that you can use to verify the information fluency, and that is to ask good questions so that you get good answers. Acquire, the steps involves determining where the information is, prioritizing the search strategy, skimming, scanning, and scouring the resources, and filtering through the results and taking smart notes. Analyze. The results of the search will yield raw information and data that in turn needs to be analyzed. Apply. The user will now be able to apply the knowledge of the real-world problem they are faced with. And assess. This is when the user will look at the results of the application and the process they followed. The Solution fluency. Solution fluency is about problem solving. Solving a problem presented to us through an intuitive process. It requires the ability to interpret information and extract knowledge so that we are able to find a solution to the problem. The solution fluency process is as follows. Define. Defining the problem is probably the hardest part of the process. Define it incorrectly and your answers will be null and void. Discover. If we have a clear understanding of the problem, we can be in the present, look at the past, and then consider how we got to this point. The discovery stage is essentially an exploration stage, looking at the problem from all angles. Dream. With a clear understanding of where we are and how we got there, we are now able to move forward and think of solutions. This is a whole mind process where we imagine what the solution will be in future. Essentially, it is an envisioning process where we look at the possible and impossible. This is the stage where innovation takes place. It is here that the creativity fluency comes into play. Design. Design becomes the planning of how to make the solution a reality. It involves a gap analysis, breaking out all the necessary steps to get there. Deliver. This step puts the design plan into action, making the dream stage a reality. There are two components of the stage, produce and publish. Production can be anything from performing a play to a building or a sculpture, etc. The second part is publication, where the product is presented. Last step is debrief. This is the evaluation process of all the steps. Did you define the problem sufficiently? Did you get enough information, or was it the right information? Was the solution a good fit to the problem? These are the kind of questions that need to be asked in order to guide future decisions on problem solving. Media and collaboration fluency. Media fluency. In the past, the most powerful technology for communication was the printing press. However, today we have such a vast array of accessible and relatively inexpensive digital technology that allow us to produce images, video, and audio content with relative ease. Media fluency is actually twofold. The first step involves interpretation or listening of the media, and the second step involves how we leverage this for our own output. Essentially, the media fluency means being a prosumer, an effective consumer and producer of digital content. With regards to the listening process of media fluency, the first aspect is message. This involves filtering out the noise, like music and flashing lights, depending on the medium, to see how effective the message is. Verbalize. You need to be able to clearly and concisely verbalize the message. By doing this, you are then able to think critically, analytically, and independently. Verify. In the information fluency process, we discussed how to analyze and authenticate the information presented, those consuming the information. These skills are needed in the stage of the process where you need to separate fact from opinion and learn to identify bias. Medium. This part of the process is to look at the medium used to present the information. Form. This is primarily about the design of the medium. Flow. Just like a story has a flow, so does any good message. When we look at the medium in terms of flow, we are essentially determining the logical progression from the beginning to end. Alignment. The audience, the message, and the medium must be in alignment. Otherwise, the message gets distorted and becomes ineffective. Leverage. Leveraging is about how a sender encodes the message and then selects a medium to best convey this message. The message involves two elements, content and outcome. One leads to the other, but not always the same order. There will be times when you know the outcome of what you want the message to achieve, and you will then have to create the content to support those outcomes. Other times you will know the message, but will need to consider the outcome. Either way, the outcome you want to achieve from the message is important in that it structures the communication. Information can be presented in many different ways, achieving different outcomes. Once you have decided on the message, it is now about the medium in which to deliver this message. The medium has three components: audience, ability, and criteria. Audience is an important component when deciding on the medium. You may be trying to communicate to one person or to many. When dealing with many people, you need to consider demographics, language, etc. Ability is about you and what one has access to work with and have access to. You need to also consider your audience's ability, as there is no point in creating a message and then using a medium that your intended audience either does not know nor has access to. The last element of medium is the criteria that may be in place, e.g. a deadline or a limited budget. It is important to note these criteria as they will shape the decisions made in terms of medium being selected. Collaboration fluency. All over the world, there are people who are communicating and working together, yet some of these people have never met face to face. In reality, with today's technology, distance has become an irrelative concept. In this section, we will look at the steps involved in the collaboration fluency process. Before collaboration can take place, we need to establish certain key aspects for it to be successful and less stressful. These aspects are determining who is in the group, the roles and responsibilities by assigning the most effective roles for each member based on interest and expertise, determining the rules of engagement, how often to communicate, method of communication, etc. Second step is envisioning. It is important to visualize, define, and examine the purpose, the challenge, and the preferred solution. The critical elements of the step is defining the problem, defining the current situation, defining the desired future, specifying the information needs, identify the information that is available and the information still required, educating the rest of the group, developing a written plan of action. Engineer. This previous steps lead to the logical one of creating a workable plan, which means breaking up all the steps to get where is needed. This step is parallel to the design step in solution fluency. The execution step is parallel to the delivery step in solution fluency. Where the plan is put into action, the solution must be tested to ensure it works. To put this into context, creating a presentation is not enough, it must be presented. Collaboration. Examining involves reviewing the process and determining as a group if the goal has been achieved. It requires acknowledging everyone's contribution and giving constructive feedback. Digital communication. Digital communication is the electronic exchange of information. Essentially, it is communication that has been encoded electronically to facilitate the transmission for exchange, allowing it to be stored and or processed by computers. The communication model. The sender will receive the message, will encode the message, select the most appropriate medium for transmission of the message, and send it to the receiver, who in turn will decode the message and give a response. This response then forms the basis of feedback to the sender. The noise around the medium and the message can distort the message. However, if the encoding is not done well, then the decoding will result in miscommunication. Noise or barriers can also distort the message. This is best explained by understanding that noise doesn't have to be a physical noise, but any kind of disturbance. It is very important that the sender is aware of encoding the message and the medium, but also the context in which the message is being transmitted. We need to also note that in verbal, face-to-face communication, the words represent 7%, body language 55%, and tone of voice 38%. When communication digitally, we lose the body language and tone of voice in most mediums. Therefore, we have to be even more aware what we say and how we say it. Digital communication forms. Email is the most common form of communication, which is used for both business and personal communication. Voice over Internet Protocol, or VoIP, allows people to communicate synchronously using the internet. The most commonly used and most popular platform for this is Skype. Cell phones are amazing in that they allow us to communicate with others anywhere and anytime. With cell phone communication, we are still able to convey tone along with actual words. Instant messaging is when we communicate in writing and get a synchronous response. Social media platforms offer different ways in which to share, but essentially the purpose is to share what is going on in one's own life. Blogs, wikis, and internet forums. Blogs are like an online journal centralized around a specific theme. Wikis are editable sites such as Wikipedia, and internet forums are virtual places where people share ideas, advice, and thoughts around a specific topic or theme. Digital communication etiquette, email etiquette. There are certain things you need to know when writing an email, such as all caps equal shouting in an email. The subject heading should be relevant to the contents of the email. Be aware of the size of the attachments. Be careful with what emails you forward to colleagues or friends, as it may be sensitive or confidential information. And when sending an email to many people at once, you should use the BCC emails, as it is much easier. Blog etiquette. There are also certain things you need to know when making your own blog, such as always respect copyright and intellectual property laws and regulations. Think before you blog. Don't be abusive on your blog. Stick to the topic of your blog. Don't respond to blog trolls. Collaboration fluency in terms of digital communication. Collaboration requires communication. Consider how effective communication plays a big role in succeeding in collaborative projects. Therefore, it is beneficial to have knowledge of the different platforms that can be used in collaborating with people in different geographic areas. Using WhatsApp and email are great for short messages that you may want to send to a team, whereas extensive collaborative type projects might require VoIP type applications such as Skype. The creative fluency. Intelligence levels have traditionally only been measured in terms of math-based thinking and linguistic skills. However, there are actually several levels of IQ. Gardner came up with the following forms of IQ. Visual or spatial. These people are good at solving puzzles, love reading, are good with directions, and enjoy drawing and painting and recognize patterns easily. Linguistic or verbal. These people are good with words, both written and spoken. They are good at remembering written and spoken information and enjoy reading and writing. Logical, mathematical. People that score high in the section are good at analyzing problems and mathematical operations. Bodily or kinesthetic. Those that have a high score in this area are good at body movements, actions and controls. They are good at sports, dancing, etc. Musical, these people think in patterns, rhythms, and sounds. They enjoy singing and playing musical instruments. Interpersonal people in this section have a good understanding of other people and relate well to them. They are good at communicating and very skilled at non-verbal cues. Intrapersonal, these individuals are good at introspection and self-reflection, as well as being aware of their own emotional state and motivations. Naturalistic, those that score high in this section are those that are very in tune with nature, want to learn about other species and explore environments. For the creativity fluency, there is a process that you may follow. The first step is the creative process is to identify what data and information about the problem do you need. Ask yourself what it is you need and what you need to create. We seek inspiration by filling your brain with sensory information. Look at magazines, artwork, photos, websites, and even walk down the street. Essentially, you are looking at things to be inspired by, moving beyond what is known, using familiar and unfamiliar sources, experimenting and imagining. Jukes, Crockett, and Churches define interpolating as a means to find a pattern with known information. The skills used in the stage include pattern recognition, the ability to find connections and relationships, combining concepts or elements that would not normally be combined. While you are going back and forth between the two stages, you will start to discard extraneous information and will begin the process of honing into a possible solution. The skills that come into play in this stage include forming mental images, sensations, and concepts for those that cannot be physically perceived. You should inspect and evaluate your creative idea. You need to question if it meets the original criteria as set out in the identity stage. Digital etiquette. Digital etiquette is a basic set of rules pertaining to behavior that needs to be followed to ensure the internet is better for all users. Basically, it means the use of good manners in online communication, such as email, forums, blogs, and social networking sites. Importance of netiquette. Communicating online or in a written form, we lose 93% of the communication. Words become the sole medium of communication. As a result, misunderstanding occurs without nonverbal cues. Most formal communication occurs within a business context, so netiquette becomes vital in our communication, as business rely heavily on building and maintaining relationships. We need to also be aware that the etiquette rules may differ somewhat depending on the context. Our language and approach will most certainly differ depending on the audience, environment, and situation. Virginia Shear's etiquette guidelines. Never forget that the person reading your communication is actually a person with feelings and can get hurt. Essentially, never say anything online that you wouldn't say to the reader's face. Adhere to the same standards of behavior online that you follow in real life by being ethical in your engagement, and know that breaking the law is bad etiquette. Know where you are in cyberspace. The etiquette required will differ from domain to domain. If you are in a forum of experts, your etiquette should reflect respectful. Whereas if you are in a chat with a room with a group full of friends that you know in real life, then the etiquette will differ. Respect other people's time and bandwidth when sharing files or documents. Bear in mind the audience's bandwidth. Make yourself look good online by checking your own grammar and spelling before you post. Share expert knowledge by offering answers and helping others where you can. Help keep flame wars under control, so don't respond to flame bait. Do not post spelling or grammar flames, and apologize if you have done so or perpetuated a flame war. Respect other people's privacy by not giving out other people's details online or offline. Don't abuse your power, and be forgiving of other people's mistakes. Digital rights and responsibilities. Digital rights and responsibilities are the privileges and freedom extended to all digital technology users and the behavioral expectations that come with them. With every right, there is also responsibility. We may have the right to freedom of speech, but in turn, it is our duty to use this responsibility wisely. Society. We need to understand that although we have certain inherent rights, we also have inherent responsibilities within the context of society. The right to internet access may be seen as an inherent right, but we have a responsibility towards society to use it responsibly. The way in which we use the internet should not affect society negatively. By the same token, we should use it to improve society. This could be to create change, to improve our current conditions, or to ensure at least that our actions in no way make things worse. Business. King's Report on Corporate Governance is a form of compliance where requirements for companies that are listed on the JSE must be met. One of the core elements of the King's Report of Corporate Governance is transparency. As such, companies have a responsibility to be transparent in their conduct and reporting. This transparency applies to how companies market themselves and their products. With the increased reliance on the digital world, companies are placing a greater emphasis on their e-business strategies, including their e-marketing strategies. As such, companies have a right to promote themselves within the digital space, but they also have a responsibility toward the consumers and society as a whole. Education. We have a right to education. It is a basic human right. With this right, we have a right to access information to support our educational needs. Our responsibility comes in the ethical and legal use of such information. Time and time again, you will hear about plagiarism and that it is illegal. What internet users do not realize is that plagiarism is a very serious offense and has consequences. For example, law students found guilty of plagiarism may find themselves disbarred or not being able to continue to become a lawyer. On an individual level, you have rights for and responsibilities toward yourself. It is your right to access the internet, to say what you wish, and find information that you seek. However, it is also your responsibility to search for information that is not harmful to yourself, to say things that will not harm you or your reputation, to share things with others that will not hurt you in any form or manner. Digital law. Digital law is defined as the electronic responsibility for actions, deeds, which is either ethical or unethical. Ethical issues within society. Copyright access and infringement, freedoms and accountability, privacy and security, cultural perceptions and values, cross-cultural communication, and pornography. Ethical and legal issues within business. When it comes to reviewing ethical and legal issues within the business context, we need to explore it from three angles. The first is that of the role the employee plays within the company. The second angle is that of the role of the employer and the staff. Finally, the third angle, the business, its consumers, and the community within which it operates will be explored. Employees and the company. The employer's role within the company is both legal and ethical of nature. The employer's legal responsibilities towards the company they work for include data protection and legal use of digital content, protecting copyright of digital content, legal use of companies' digital technology, legal use of technology in the dissemination of sensitive information. The company as an employer, just as an employee has responsibilities toward the company has responsibilities towards the employee. The legal responsibilities include protection against cyber harassment, employees' confidential information is protected within the company's digital network, ensure surveillance is limited to legal requirements. The ethical responsibilities include prevention of unethical surveillance, protection of digital rights, health and ergonomics, prevention of job displacements. The company and the consumer. The company has both legal and ethical responsibilities towards consumers. There are general issues that apply across all types of businesses. Ethical issues and responsibilities include ethical digital advertising, ethical digital communication, ethical use and dissemination of personal information obtained via electronic means. General legal issues and responsibilities include the legal use of digital technology in obtaining consumer information, transparent advertising, no false claims of product benefits through the means of digital manipulation, and no spamming. Digital security. Digital security refers to ensuring the ability to use digital information and information systems without interference, disruption, unauthorized access, or data collection. Security issues. There are digital security risk areas that can be affected by malicious software or malware. Some examples of this are adware. Adware is short for advertising supported software that will automatically deliver advertisements. Bots are little software programs that are created to automatically perform a specific operation or function. Bugs in the context of software are essentially flaws in the program resulting in some undesired outcome. Ransomware is a form of malware that behaves like a worm. Essentially, the malware will attack the computer and encrypt the data or software that is on the system. The user then will get a message with a link to where to pay to get their computer unlocked or decrypted. Rootkits is malware that allows remote access or remote control to steal data, modify system configurations, and alter software. Spyware is malware that allows a user to be spied on without their knowledge or consent. Trojan horses is a malware that disguises itself as a normal file or program to trick potential users to download and install the malware. Viruses, just like the biological virus, this malware has the ability to copy itself and spread to other computers. Worms are the most common type of malware. Worms spread over networks by exploiting operating system vulnerabilities. Security tools, methods, and technologies. Protection for devices from malware and hackers by using antivirus software and ensure that you run software updates regularly. Protect your information, creating and maintaining secure passwords by using a secure password database tool. Protecting sensitive files on your computer by having a multi-layer defense to protect your data and device. Keeping your internet communication private by using a virtual private network, protecting yourself and your data on social media platforms. Keep your phone with you at all times and not leave it unattended. Use lock codes and pins to keep your cell phone safe. Protect your SIM and memory card. Dispose of the phone by ensuring no data or information is left on it. Use only trusted dealers and repair shops and back up your information regularly. Digital health and wellness. The definition of digital health and wellness is physical and psychological well-being in a digital technological world. Physical issues that may occur. Ergonomics is the science of designing environments and products to match individuals to use them, such as chairs with back adjustments, settings, keyboards that are raised and designed with the shape of the hand in mind, etc. Repetitive strain injury syndrome. Repetitive strain injury syndrome develops over time after repeated use of a particular muscle group, as well as poor posture. This can be incredibly painful in the affected area. The most common types are carpal tunnel syndrome, tennis elbow, trigger finger, tendonitis, blackberry thumb. Eye strain, perhaps the most irritating syndrome, which has an impact on other areas as well as the affected one, is the eye strain. Computer vision syndrome and digital eye syndrome are two types of eye strain that occur. Computer vision syndrome is a generic name for no specific eye problem, but rather encompasses a whole range of eye strain and pain experienced by computer users. Some symptoms are blurred vision, dry red eyes, headaches, neck or back pain. Digital eye strain or eye fatigue, some of the symptoms are red irritated eyes, blurred distance vision when looking away from your screen or device, headaches or neck and back pain. Another health issue is obesity, and as prolonged time sitting in front of a monitor without enough exercise will cause obesity to occur. Psychological issues. Psychological issues that may occur are addictions, such as addictions to pornography and to gaming, which are the most common addictions. Online disinhibition effect. Studies conducted on children and adolescents consistently state the negative psychological consequences of cyberbullying. Severe victimization of a child has such far-reaching ramifications that often said child experiences adult problems as a result. Due to the anonymity of the internet, stalking on the internet has risen in a number of incidents reported. This crime is perhaps the most frightening in that the victim has no control, is often not believed, and is often further victimized when others believe the victim to be making it up. So, in conclusion, I hope you found this video interesting and have learned about how important the elements of digital citizenship and their fluencies are in our fast-paced and rapidly changing lives, and how we can use them to improve our skills and knowledge, and also improve our online image, along with using these skills and knowledge to improve our society and also our performance.